All right, coming into action right here. Dr. Tom Pritchard with a rude awakening just a few moments ago.
And Hurricane Walker, what an impressive and auspicious debut here today.
Oh, boy, here he comes. Boy, Pritchard is not happy. That's Tony Anthony, the Dirty White Boy, in here with him. Boy, this is a rugged-looking tag team, huh?
I'll tell you, these are two tough customers. Tony Anthony he was mean and vicious before. Now he's got his hair blonde, and I think he is even meaner, if that's possible.
I agree with you, absolutely. Pritchard up there running his mouth. Hey, here comes Hot Stuff, Eddie Gilbert and Brian Christopher, his partner. Brian, one of the new kids, of course. He steps up on the ring. Well, both of those guys can wrestle, too. This should be a good match we got right here.
For the top talents in the USWA in the squared circle today for our main event, and this will be an expiration of time match.
You know, we're also looking at the situation in which Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert has been looking for the Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony in single matches, and here they are as part of tag teams today. Let's see if those two tie it up during this fall.
Referee Paul Neighbors trying to get one man from each team in the ring. Let's see who is going to start and get this match underway. Already Eddie Gilbert and Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony exchanging some barbs across the ring.
They're looking at each other. You know, I've got to wonder, they may not even realize they have partners here in a few seconds. This may be one of those that the war really gets going between those two. Let's see what happens. Tony Anthony starts against Brian Christopher.
And Dave, I think what you just alluded to may indeed be the true underlying theme of this match. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert and Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony. Anthony's going to start off against Brian Christopher, the Dirty White Boy. There's a nice big high hip toss on Brian. Brian, the man with the least experience in the ring, but certainly a young man that has come a long way in his wrestling career as one of the new kids. There's a full body slam. Now Tom Pritchard saying that Dirty White Boy's the only man he's seen from Tennessee that can wrestle.
Yeah, that's about the only guy I've ever seen from the state of Tennessee that can wrestle. I've seen Lawler, I've seen Gilbert, I've seen all of them, and the Dirty White Boy's about the only guy out there that can do anything that's worth anything when he teams with me.
Obviously, Dr. Tom Pritchard with a lot of confidence in the Dirty White Boy. Look at this, flying press by Brian. One, count of one was all he got. There's a drop kick to the shoulder. Dirty White Boy is down, tag is made, and here we go, Dave.
I think he may have run across a couple of other guys who can wrestle from the state of Tennessee. Eddie Gilbert, of course, from Lexington, Tennessee. Brian Christopher is a Tennessean, too.
Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert has got the matchup that he wants in this tag team affair. He's in there with the Dirty White Boy, but not for long. White Boy going to tag out.
Yeah, look who stepped out. It wasn't Eddie Gilbert. It was Tony Anthony that headed for the corner and tagged Tom Pritchard.
Did Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert a favor. I didn't cripple him right here on TV today.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, step out of the ring and then come over here and try to talk a good game, huh?
Here's Eddie Gilbert and Tom Pritchard going toe-to-toe, and Eddie Gilbert gets the best of that encounter. Pritchard backing away. Now Dirty White Boy stepping off the apron. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, his feathers are ruffled.
Boy, for a guy who allegedly can't wrestle, I would say Eddie Gilbert gave pretty good accounting of himself there during the last 30 seconds.
Eddie Gilbert strutting around the ring, going to lock it up with Pritchard. Pritchard brings a knee to the midsection, and now chopping at Gilbert. Gilbert returns the favor, and Pritchard goes down. Boy, I'll tell you, Dave Brown, Eddie Gilbert, he is looking as good in the ring today as I've ever seen him operate.
He's on a mission, too. He's facing Tom Pritchard, and he has no love for Tom Pritchard, I guarantee you, but he's seeing Tony Anthony. He thought he was going to get to face him, but Anthony tagged Pritchard, and that's where we are right now.
Eddie Gilbert with the hammerlock on Pritchard, going to tag out. Brian is coming into the ring. Brian Christopher coming off that middle strand of ropes, takes right over on Tom Pritchard. Rings that arm a couple of times, has that wrist lock set. Pritchard going to back Christopher into the ropes, sends him across the way, missed him with that wild right. Christopher sunset flip, 1, 2, off. I thought he had it, but Pritchard kicked out alertly. Takes right over on that arm, but now Pritchard going into the eyes. Brian Christopher blinded momentarily, brought over into the corner. Tag is made, and here comes the dirty white boy. They're double teaming new kid Brian.
That's right, on the exchange. Look out. Tony Anthony sends Brian into the rope. Clotheslines him coming off.
Brian caught again by the dirty white boy. Neck breaker. Snaps him down. Now, dirty white boy and Eddie Gilbert exchanging some more remarks. Dirty white boy with a headbutt. Brian down again. White boy taking advantage of the youth and inexperience of Brian Christopher at this point.
This is where Tony Anthony is very dangerous. If he thinks he has his opponent wounded or slowed down for a second, he becomes a vicious mad dog almost and goes after it.
Tag is made. Here comes Dr. Tom Pritchard. Brian wanted to make a tag and get over to Eddie Gilbert, but unable to do so. Whoa! Boy, is Tom Pritchard throwing these chops. I think Pritchard's still a little upset over that encounter with Hurricane Walker that we witnessed a little earlier.
He better be upset. He better watch himself because he's going to be facing Hurricane Walker in a single match in just a very few days.
Here's a suplex on Brian. He goes down. Dirty white boy manhandling him. Here's Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert headed into the ring. Now a double team. Pritchard and white boy both on Brian Christopher. Double suplex. And now Pritchard dropping down with the elbow, going for the cover, but there's Eddie Gilbert in for the save.
Hot Stuff keeps it alive. Tom Pritchard, a dirty white boy, thought they had it wrapped up against Brian Christopher. Brian struggling to get to the corner, but intercepted by Tony Anthony.
The resiliency of Brian Christopher, very surprising. You see this young man has got a lot of intestinal fortitude, but he is taking quite a pounding at the hands of the dirty white boy. And Dr. Tom Pritchard right now in the ring.
Dirty white boy broke the cover right there because he saw Eddie Gilbert headed his way. He didn't want Gilbert to get him.
Here's the tag made legally this time. Pritchard back in the ring. They're continuing to work Brian over. Brian takes that right hand, bounces back real quickly though. Look at this, blocking in the corner. But Pritchard right away puts that knee to the midsection. Pritchard sent to the ropes. Shoulder block, and both men go down. Pritchard banging heads with Brian Christopher coming off the ropes. Brian is down. Pritchard is down. Brian needs to make that tag. Let's see if he can find Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert and get the tag. He's getting over that direction. He got him. Tag is made. Here comes dirty white boy. Now it's Gilbert and white boy. Now wait a minute. White boy took the tag. Oh, look at this. Right over to the table. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert and the dirty white boy on the floor. That's where the fight is. Slugging it out on the floor. Eddie Gilbert right now getting the best of the dirty white boy. Here they come, Dave. Look out. Dirty white boy again on the floor. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert throwing the chairs on Tony Anthony. Whoa.
They're still battling. Michael, this one is over technically. The referee has counted them both out for fighting on the floor, and they're still fighting on the floor. Tony Anthony, Eddie Gilbert going at it down here.
Dave, we're going to have to get this thing broken up some way or another.
Not going to be easy. Here's Paul Neighbors trying. He's telling them it's over. The bell has sounded. Oh, look out. Eddie's got a mic cord wrapped around the dirty white boy's throat.
My mic cord.
What is this, Tom? Pritchard back over here. Let's get, I tell you. All right, looks like Paul has got them separate. Let's take a break very quickly. We'll be back. Well, we're going to try to get another fall underway after the way that first one ended. I don't know if that's wise or not. It ended up as a draw. A count out by referee Paul Neighbors due to fighting on the floor as Tony Anthony and Eddie Gilbert were down here around the table. Here comes Tom Pritchard and Tony Anthony, the dirty white boy. Hey, look out behind!
Here comes Eddie Gilbert. Tony Anthony wanted Eddie Gilbert out here. Eddie Gilbert's arrived and he's got a broom.
Tell you what.
Gilbert going to work on
He
it.
ran them both out of the ring right here.
Disqualification right there. You're going to throw it on.
Yeah, if anybody knows about foreign objects, it would be Tony Anthony, too, let me tell you. Paul Neighbors trying to get the broom away from Eddie Gilbert.
Hot stuff. Eddie Gilbert came into the ring for the second ball, loaded for bear. And now, wait a minute.
Oh, look out.
Tony Anthony just took the broom away from the referee, and now Tony Anthony working over Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert with that broom handle. The referee's got it, tosses it out of the ring finally. He's calling for the bell.
Yeah, the bell is sounded, so we'll just let that stand. This one officially has been underway for some time. Eddie Gilbert's head rammed into the turnbuckle. Tony Anthony, Eddie Gilbert going at each other. These guys have to face each other in a single match coming up. Look at Anthony. He's trying to get that forehead opened up again where he cut Eddie in that last match.
Well, I'll tell you this much, Dave Brown. They have taken up right where they left off with the brawl on the floor. Thank goodness for now it's in the ring. But I don't know if any building in the country can hold them, much less the Pipkin building. But I guarantee you, no matter what happens, Monday night there'll be a match between the Dirty White Boy and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, and there'll be no stopping the match for any reason.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That is going to be a battle. It's already started. It's continuing now. Actually, it started last week. Look at this. Anthony got him back. He's choking him. Anthony with a thumb wrapped around his throat. Yeah, he's got him cut open again. Anthony wouldn't rest till he had his head cut open.
Well, the Dirty White Boy knew, and Eddie Gilbert alluded to it earlier in an interview, that he had taken, what did he say, 10 lacerations with a metal chair last week. And now the Dirty White Boy working over that newly healing forehead of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, and Eddie Gilbert suffering the effects of it right now. The referee finally getting down to 2 men in the ring. But as he admonishes Tony Anthony, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert takes a pounding
from Pritchard outside, yeah.
Pritchard holding on again. And Dirty White Boy moving right in on Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Gilbert fired across the ring. He ducks under the clothesline. Hey!
Caught the Dirty White Boy with that boot.
He brought the boot up to the chest, and Tony Anthony was knocked down to the mat. Eddie is not in real good shape, though. He's really taking a beating here and double teaming from these guys. Look at him nail it. And Anthony just collapsed, face first.
Hey, neither one of these men are in very good shape right now, Dave. They have just put their heart and soul into beating each other up in this one.
You know, what we talked about as the match began, they have forgotten they have partners. At this point, they're just going after each other. What Eddie needs to do right now is get to that corner, get the tag on Brian Christopher, get the fresh man in there. But Anthony and Gilbert intent on going after each other. It's one against one match right now for them.
Eddie Gilbert sent into the rope. Look at that. He got him with the DDT.
Time is winding down here. Our time limit very close. When the time expires, we'll have to ring this bell as the action continues at the moment. Neither of them seems to be in position to take a pin at the moment.
Both men out on their feet in the middle of the squared circle today. Look at this. Gilbert and Anthony exchanging the right hands. We're out of
time. Time is expired. We're going to have to stop this one, but I guarantee you the war will continue. We'll be back here in a moment.